Going into this video, I had mixed feelings because Apple was my favorite doll. I had an OG Apple doll, and I put her head on one of those super flexible Barbies, and I loved it. I took it everywhere with me. But after rewatching these movies, I hate her. Hello, hi, welcome back. Since I've already discussed the Monster High movies in depth, I felt like it was only thematically appropriate for me to make a video on its sister series, Ever After High. So on IMDb, it says that the first Ever After High movie is literally just the first webisode, and the second movie is the following three webisodes. So for the sake of convenience, I'm just gonna combine them together and talk about the first four webisodes, aka the Legacy Day arc. To start, we are introduced to our main characters and our setting, Ever After High, which is a high school for the children of famous fairy tale characters, where they're going to learn how to become their parents and fulfill their fairy tale destiny. We meet our main characters, Apple White and Raven Queen, the daughter of Snow White and the Evil Queen, and we're introduced to the concept of royals and rebels. Royals are people who do want to follow in their parents' destinies like Apple, and rebels don't want to follow in their parents' destinies like Raven. And the reason why Raven doesn't want to follow in her mother's destiny is because it would mean being doomed to a life of eternal torture inside of the mirror realm and being the most hated person in Ever After High. So it's understandable why she doesn't want that legacy. We also meet some other royals, Ashlyn Ella, Briar Beauty, and Daring Charming, and some rebels like Madeline Hatter and Cerise Hood. Also, Maddie is my favorite character. She was when I was a kid, and now. She's so iconic, and she can also communicate with the narrators that have been telling the story thus far. This will be important later. Okay, on to the juicy stuff. This year is Legacy Day, where the students of Ever After sign the Storybook of Legends, sealing their fate that they will follow in their parents' footsteps. Raven is at first hesitant to sign because of the things that I said earlier, but everyone is conspiring against her, especially Principal Grimm and Apple. Raven was originally gonna room with Maddie, but Apple made it so that Raven was her roommate so that she can steer her down the path of villainy. This feels like Elphaba and Glinda. Throughout these episodes, Apple is trying to get Raven to sign the book, and Principal Grimm lies and says that if she doesn't sign it, then her story will go poof. And then Apple starts yelling at Raven and calling her selfish because she can't get her happily ever after. Apple, people in glass houses should not throw stones, because I fear the selfish call is coming from inside the house. The glass house that you're throwing stones in. Anyway, Lexi Day comes, their outfits are so good here. But Raven didn't end up signing, and she didn't go poof. This action caused the principal to hate her even more, but she did inspire some more people to rebel, saying that everyone should have the chance to create their own destiny. I completely forgot this movie existed. When I was rewatching it, I did remember everything that happened, but it just completely left my mind. This movie mostly follows C.A. Cupid, who is the same Cupid from Monster High. She was introduced in Why Do Rules Fall in Love and then transferred to Ever After High through this mirror. And she wants to throw a True Hearts Day party, but the principal won't let her, so she goes behind his back and throws one anyway. The side plot of this movie follows Ashlyn and her secret boyfriend, Hunter Huntsman. They have to keep their relationship a secret because they aren't destined to be together. Bad news for them, though, this girl, Duchess Swan, does find them and rats them out. And I thought I would like Duchess because I remember her being iconic, but after this rewatch, she's just an asshole. And like, you can be an asshole and be iconic. Dare I mention the queen herself, Miss Chloe Bourgeois. Um, but Duchess is not that. She's just a bitch. Speaking of bitches, Apple is mad at Ashlyn for acting like a rebel and convinces her to break up with her boyfriend. At the party, they do get back together though, and Ashlyn says that if being in love with Hunter makes her a rebel, then call her a rebel, and she gives her true heart to him. Apple then gives her true heart to Ashlyn, and she apologizes. I still hate her, but this was the first big Apple is a lesbian thing. This was my favorite Ever After High movie when I was a kid, and I do think it still holds up to this day. This was also the first actual 45-minute special. It is Throne Coming at Ever After, which is just homecoming. There are your classic homecoming activities, parade floats, a book ball game, and a dance. And at said dance is one of the few times where the Storybook of Legends is out on display, so the principal starts scheming to get Raven to sign it. While they're all setting up their parade floats, Raven calls Apple selfish because she's just focused on getting her happily ever after, and then everyone gasps, but Raven is right. That is what she is doing. The next day, their teacher Baba Yaga and her house on chicken feet are taking the students to Heritage Hall, where they each get special objects left for them by their parents. The most important ones being Cedar Wood, the daughter of Pinocchio, getting Revealer Rays that tells her when something or someone is lying, and Raven, who was going to get a wand, but the principal swapped out her gift with a coin. She then takes this coin and throws it down the wishing well, asking what would happen to her friends if she doesn't sign the Storybook of Legend. The principal then plays a projection of a world where all of her friends are in danger and the evil queen has taken over, and this scares Raven into wanting to sign the Storybook of Legends. But now Briar is starting to have second thoughts because she hasn't signed the book yet, and she doesn't even know if she wants to sign anymore, because sleeping for 100 years would mean losing all of her friends. At Legacy Day Part 2, Raven is about to sign, but Cedar, wearing her Revealer Rays, sees that the Storybook of Legends is a fake. The Evil Queen had actually hid it, and now Raven and Maddie go on a small quest to go and try and find it. They start by going under the school to meet with Giles Grimm, who is the principal's brother, but he has a babble spell placed on him, so he can only speak in riddles, and he tells them that they need to go to Heritage Hall. The bookball game, Cerise eats down, proving that women can do sports. This is a kids' movie from the 2010s after all. But Raven and Madeline, as well as Apple, Cedar, Ashlyn, Briar, Cupid, and Blondie who I haven't mentioned yet. She's the daughter of Goldilocks and she's a reporter, but they all go to Heritage Hall and see a giant storybook of legends that they need to go into. Inside the book, there are 8 more books, one for each of the girls' respective roles that they play in their stories, and they need to go into them to get a page out, but they're all unlabeled, so they take a leap of faith and end up in each other's stories. The most important ones being Briar and Raven's story, Raven and Apple's story, and Apple and Briar's story. They all get their pages, but Apple pricks her finger, sending her to sleep, and then Briar goes into her own story to get the page and Apple. You would think this would teach Apple that some people's destinies are not good, and everyone should have the right to choose their own path in life. But no, she's still a in the next movies. In fact, she gets worse. Back to Thronecoming, they get the pieces and take them to Giles, and it turns out that these pages were not part of the Storybook of Legends, but the pieces required to remove Giles' Babel spell. He then explains to the girls that the reason his brother is so persistent on everyone following their destinies is because when they were kids, he went against the fairy tales and put his brother in danger. They then all go to the dance, and their outfits are some of my favorites. This Cupid doll specifically is, I think, my favorite doll to just exist ever. It's so cool looking. But at the dance, Briar sees a photo of the evil queen doing something weird in her dorm room, so she takes Cedar's Revealer Rays and finds the real Storybook of Legends hidden underneath the floorboards. She then takes the book and throws it down the wishing well, setting it to Wonderland. Much like True Hearts Day, I forgot this movie existed because I just clumped it together with Way to Wonderland in my head. But this is my formal apology to Spring Unsprung. This is my new favorite Ever After High movie. Oh yeah, remember the narrators? They have a kid now. So there are now 3 narrators telling this story. Her name is Brooke, and look at the logo. Do you see the logo? Do you see that girl? That's Brooke. Anyway, in Wonderland, Alistair Wonderland and Bunny Blanc find the Storybook of Legends, and now their goal is to bring it back to Ever After High. This is a challenge, though, because several years ago, the Evil Queen put a dark spell over Wonderland, trying to corrupt it. Luckily, she was stopped just in time, but the curse is still just ominously looming over Wonderland. So the Brothers Grimm cut off almost all connections to Wonderland, leaving only the Well of Wonder, because if they completely cut off Wonderland, then all of the wonder would drain from their world. There's so many W words. Also, side note, I love the narrators. Their inclusion makes so much sense here because they're storybook characters. This movie also introduces Gingerbread House, who will be more important in a bit. It is the Spring Fairest Festival at Ever After High, and we see Kitty Cheshire pull some pranks, and then she calls her mom, who is unimpressed, telling her daughter that she needs to go bigger and bolder with her pranks. Back in Wonderland, Alistair and Bunny ask the Cheshire Cat for help getting to Ever After, and she does help them, but she then replaces the book with another fake, this one being a riddle book containing a topsy-turvy spell. At Ever After, Ginger goes to the Well of Wonder with the help of Maddie and Lizzie Hartz, and they tell her that the Well of Wonder is never in the same place for very long, and the reason why she needs the Well of Wonder is for Wonderland water that she needs for a recipe, and then she falls in the well, taking her to Wonderland to the Mad Hatter's tea shop, where she meets the White Knight. There's so many W words. Back on the fairground, Kitty pulls more pranks, like making the Ferris wheel spin super fast, and then Alistair and Bunny show up, and they give the principal the Storybook of Legends, but he finds out that it's a fake, and then he just hands it to Apple. I hope this turns out well. But then at a cooking competition, and Apple reads the spell in the fake book, and it just turns her into more of a bitch than she already is. And then she gives it to the people sitting in the audience who also read it, and it inverts their personalities. Evil Apple then has the idea to plug the Well of Wonder to drain all of the wonder from the world, so she does this, and Raven and some of her unaffected friends try to unplug the well, but then it changes locations and drains all the wonder from the world. Luckily, our Wonderlandians are unaffected, and they learn from a message in a pie that Ginger made in Wonderland that this is the fault of the Cheshire Cat, and she knows how to undo the spell. Kitty, up until this point, has been living for the chaos, but once she sees that her friends are in danger, she learns that jokes can become not funny if people get hurt, and this felt like the only Ever After High movie with a different message, because all of the other ones just felt like it had the message of choose your own destiny. But this one was actually different, which made it stand out more, and why it's my new favorite. The Wonderlandians then play the Cheshire Cat's game, Kitty wins, and they undo the spell and unclog the Well of Wonder, yay. Also, Ginger did make it home safe with the help of the White Knight. This movie starts with Apple wanting to write about Wonderland for the school newspaper, so she's going around asking people what they know about Wonderland. We also get a bit more context about the curse on Wonderland, and that a few people were able to escape to Ever After during the commotion. My question is, how long ago was this? Because Giles had the Babel spell placed on him, by his brother, by the way, and in the flashback, it looks like it was just, like, last year, but I think it was supposed to be several years ago. Apple is then holding a meeting to ask people about Wonderland, and at the start, there was only one person there, Darling Charming. And then Lizzie showed up, and she starts crying because today is her mother's birthday, and she would do anything to go see her, but travel between worlds is forbidden. Another group of people show up with the help of Raven teleporting them in. She's been trying to practice her powers. I also don't know where else to put this, but in this movie, we learn that Apple is smart and logical, where Raven is more creative and go with the flow. Apple, if you're so logical, maybe you would see that Raven is right in wanting to choose her own destiny. Another thing I don't know where to put, but it's still important, Brooke the narrator told Maddie that there is a plot to overthrow the Queen of Hearts. We then see the evil queen in the mirror realm, and she uses her powers to knock a book off of a shelf, which contains a spell that transports them to Wonderland. Not all of them, though, just Raven, Apple, Briar, Maddie, Kitty, and Lizzie, and we get a transformation sequence of them getting new outfits. And I do really like their Wonderland outfits, but they did not translate to dolls very well. Just look at the difference in Kitty's design. That is a different green, and a worse one at that. Also, Maddie's hat was, like, famously or infamously on the side of her head. Sorry, I needed to drop that hot take. I don't like the Way to Wonderland dolls. They're all just really tacky in comparison to the animation. I am gonna praise the setting. It is very bright and whimsical and nonsensical. There's a lot of chess and playing card imagery, much like the source material. And okay, Alice in Wonderland has been done a lot, but this is one of my favorite depictions of Wonderland. That's kind of where my praises for this movie stop. They then all go to Wonderland High, which only runs one day a year, so really bad RNG for them. We meet the villain of this movie, Courtly Jester, and I do like her as a character and as a villain, but what court jester is in Alice in Wonderland? Her original goal was just to kill the queen, but when she learns that the Storybook of Legends is in Wonderland, she wants to sign her name under Lizzie's spot, stealing her destiny. So they're at school, and to leave, they need to graduate, but Courtly keeps making their school schedules even harder, and inevitably just gives them detention to keep them there forever so she can overthrow the queen. They do escape, however, with the help of Brooke, who uses a secret message to inform the people back at Ever After High that their friends are safe. The White Knight, who has been continuously stepping in to help them, uh, does this again to fight off the Red Knight while our group of girls goes to the castle to stop Courtly. Around this point, the pacing starts really speeding up. This was the first Ever After High movie that was an hour and a half long, and at the beginning, it felt like they were like, oh, we have so much time. But then they spent all that time at school and they had no time for the actual climax. Like, Courtly shows up at the party and goes to find the book. A group of girls goes to stop her. She throws like two spells at Raven, and then Raven signs the Storybook of Legends, so she's able to have access to her full power, and then she just kicks Courtly. But she still has this evil aura around her, and then Apple steps in and is like, Raven, this isn't you. And then she just goes back to normal. This movie ends with Raven removing the curse and destroying the Storybook of Legends, allowing everyone to choose their own destiny. This was the first Ever After High movie that I didn't watch as a kid. I remember it coming out, but it was around the time I stopped being as interested in Ever After High, so I just never watched it until now. I only heard bad things about it, but I thought it was really good. It was definitely one of the better ones. We start with Raven using her magic to help others, and then she goes up to visit her mom's mirror. Guarding that mirror, we meet her dragon Nevermore, who I actually have in the studio with me. I remembered that I had this while writing the script. It was my mom's, and it was just sitting in our kitchen for years, and then it came to me in a vision, and I was like, oh my god, we have this. Also, shout out to my mom for these Monster High dolls behind me. This one is a original 2009 mint in box Draculaura. Sorry, I had to flex real quick. The evil queen is trying to get her daughter to follow in her footsteps and be evil, and she wants her to break the glass, which would release her. She obviously doesn't do this because that would be stupid, right? Then meet the Snow White, and she is upset with her daughter because she is no longer the most popular girl at school. And she starts convincing her daughter to double down on getting Raven to be evil so she can get her happily ever after. Why do all of the adults have it out for this literal teenager? The evil queen then gets Apple to shatter the mirror, and she has Apple keep this a secret, promising her that she will give her her happily ever after. The evil queen then transforms into a teenager who goes by Mira Shard, and, like, I know she was trapped in a mirror, but was there no way to strip her of her power, or at least make her weaker? I don't know. It just feels like a huge oversight to leave the most powerful and evil person unattended with her full power for years. Like, no wonder she escaped. Anyway, Raven's dragon is stinky, so she asks the O'Hare twins, Holly and Poppy, to clean her, but then they lose her and she escapes to the old Dragon Games arena behind the school. Daring is also here because this is where the dragon stables is, and his dragon is about to lay eggs. She does this, and then Raven does a spell to warm them up, but Mira amplifies it. Amplifies. But Mira amplifies it, causing them to hatch instantly, and the litter becomes evil and corrupted. Snow White then just shows up at Ever After High and reveals that they're gonna bring back the Dragon Games, and then Mira reveals herself to be the evil queen. Snow White then just pardons her because she challenged her at Dragon Games. Literally, why? You have the Booking Glass on you. Oh yeah, the Booking Glass is this mirror that can transport things in and out of the mirror realm, and she has a clear shot. Just capture her again. She's the evil queen. I think the reason why Snow doesn't instantly recapture the queen is because Yuri. This is generational Yuri too, because in the next scene, look at this picture that Apple has on her desk. She also told the queen about the booking glass. Apple, you dumb bitch. Also, Fabel Thorne, the daughter of Maleficent, is here, and she wants to be the evil queen's protege. But she's just using her as her errand boy. The next day, Snow and the evil queen give a demonstration on the rules of dragon games. You need to collect these crystals in the air. Each one is worth a different amount of points. And once you do that, you need to throw a ball through a hoop to gain those points, which is pretty simple. They then choose teams, and the Evil Queen picks Apple to be her leader. And then we're off to the races, only these dragons are still little babies and can't fly yet, so they just start running around on the field, but during halftime, Fabel fed them growth serum, which caused them to grow into full-fledged dragons, allowing them to be ridden for the second half of the game. Apple then attacks Darling, causing her to fall off her dragon and get injured, and then Raven steps in to take her place. Her mom, however, puts a spell on Nevermore, causing her to uncontrollably breathe fire, which destroys the school, and Apple has been heckling to Raven this whole time, trying to get her to snap. And then they pin the whole thing on Raven, but the Evil Queen uses her magic to fix the school and paint herself in a good light. Raven then confronts Apple because she has been a terrible friend, and Apple then storms out on her. Raven, Darling, and some of their other friends escape into the woods and meet the pixies. These are not pixies. They don't have wings. Those are sprites. The Evil Queen has taken over Ever After High, and she is currently lifting the school up into the air. Apple is then sobbing, even though this is all her fault, and she finally feels remorse, and she goes to the woods to beg Raven for forgiveness. The Evil Queen also threw her off the side of the school, which is above the clouds at this point, and she's just completely fine. The Evil Queen also sent Fabel to follow Apple and give her a poisoned apple. Naming your kid after the thing that literally kills you is kind of weird in my opinion. Like, this is my child, tuberculosis. In the woods, Apple does meet up with everyone and apologizes, and I don't think they should accept it, but this is a kid's movie. But then she gets poisoned by Fabel. A bunch of other people escaped the school, one of which being Daring, and he is now tasked with kissing Apple to wake her up, but it doesn't work, so now they just all act like she's dead. Guys, there's two other Charmings. In fact, it was Darling's kiss that broke the spell. I feel like it should have been Raven, but I'll let it slide because it is sapphic. But before Darling woke Apple up, Raven came up with a plan and went back to Ever After High to face her mom. She tells her mother that she wants to pursue villainy alongside her, and she gets this sick outfit that was a Comic-Con exclusive doll, and it's so cool. But because the Evil Queen now has her daughter, she doesn't need Fabel anymore. And this was all part of Raven's plan. She knew that Fabel would get fired and then instantly turn on the Evil Queen because she's a petty bit. Sorry. No, actually, I'm not sorry. Screw Fabel. I hate her more than Apple. But with Fabel's help, I don't even remember what she did. They take down the Evil Queen, and this is the big boss battle that I wanted at the end of Way to Wonderland. This movie was paced a lot better, so it had enough time for a climactic boss battle on the backs of dragons. They recapture the Evil Queen, and the day is saved, and then everything just magically goes back to normal. I'm not gonna question it. This movie ends with Raven actually kind of having a good relationship with her mother because she finally accepted that her daughter doesn't want to be evil. That was great. You know, a good ending to the series. We had a nice climactic crescendo. We've taken down the big bad. And then there's Epic Winter. Much like Monster High, the final movie in the Ever After High series is its worst one. We are introduced to the realm of winter at the top of the world where the Snow King and Queen live with their daughter Crystal Winter. She does want to inherit the throne, but she has a lot to learn and growing up and maturing to do. Like, girly can't even tie her own shoes. We then meet the villains of this movie, Jackie Frost and her brother Northwind. They are shapeshifters and they're trying to steal the throne. They use this dust of pure evil that was created from the shattered Evil Queen mirror, and they sprinkle it on the king, giving him kindness blindness, which only allows him to see the negative things in the world, which makes him very irritable, and he freezes his wife and turns most of his staff into penguins. Now, my question is, how did they get that dust? And if the dust is pure evil, why did no one clean it up? Because it's still in that attic. Anyway, Crystal runs to her room and she has a photo of her, Briar, and Ashlyn. How? This is the first time I'm seeing her. Was there something I missed? Why are we acting like she's been here the whole time? But she decides she needs to go to Ever After to get help. At Ever After High, it is in fact not winter, it is summer, but the mere presence of Crystal made it start snowing, and she goes to her friends that I still don't know how she has for help. They then go ask Baba Yaga for help because she knows a lot about curses, and she invites the Snow King down so that she can study him. Why don't they go to Raven? Can't she just magic it away? When he does come down, though, he curses Daring, causing him to slowly turn into a beast. With the help of Farah Good Fairy's magic, they do identify what is wrong with the king, and they need to get the 4 season roses to save him. Fabel also wants these roses because, as consequence for the last movie, she was tasked with cleaning the entire school. She doesn't want to do this though, so she seeks help from some mob fairies, who then have her on a leash, saying that if she doesn't get the bouquet to them in 3 days, she will have to work for them for 200 years. What is this movie? Why is there the Mafia in my Ever After High movie? So the group going on this adventure is Crystal, Briar, Ashlyn, Blondie, Fabel, Daring, and Rosabella Beauty. Where are Apple and Raven? Aren't they the main characters? I also feel like with Raven's help, this whole thing would have been a lot easier. Also, Apple and Madeline got epic winter dolls, and Fabel didn't? What the fuck? That feels like a huge slap in the face, because I know I said in the last movie that I didn't like Fabel, but she was actually really funny in this movie and was low-key my favorite part. Also, these dolls were a lot worse quality because this was after the first Monster High rebrand, so they cut a lot of corners to make the dolls as cheaply and efficiently as possible. Why does Apple have this creepy smile? The Spring Rose is at the Beauty and the Beast castle, and as they're on the way to Cinderella's castle, they run into Jackie and Northwind, who reveals that they're evil. Now is not a good time. They then cause an avalanche, creating a giant wall of snow in the path of our main characters. Crystal then pulls a I don't know if I can say that. She pulls out a shooter thing and she shoots icicles at the snow wall to create a ladder. In Cinderella's castle, they get the Summer Rose and then they head to Sleeping Beauty's castle for the Fall Rose. But her castle is covered in roses and they realize that they need to go up to the Spindle Room to get the real one. Unfortunately for them, all of the staircases are completely blocked off, so Crystal pulls her Gluck out again and shoots these vines, taking them up to the Spindle Room. Up in the room, the twins show up and put everyone to sleep, and then they go back to Winter to put the king to sleep, incapacitating him and leaving the twins, or I should say just Jackie, in charge. Crystal then gets a vision of where the Winter Rose is. I wonder where that could be. But she then just wakes up somehow and then wakes everyone else up. She didn't even have to kiss them. Not fairy tale accurate. They then all go up to the Winter Palace and defeat Jackie and Northwind, and while they're fighting, Crystal insists that she needs magic to defeat them. But girl, you're literally carrying. Shoot them! But they save the day, and the twins are punished with shoveling the driveway. If I was them, I would just run away. Also, Fabel's side plot did have a happy ending because Daring decided that he will take her 200 years of service, but this completely nullified the contract because it was in the fine print, and this is why you always read the fine print. Once again, I don't want to end this video with a poop fart movie, and I wanted to address the elephant in the room, the namesake of this video. What happened to Ever After High? The simple answer is Disney. You see, in 2015, Disney released this little movie called Descendants on the Disney Channel. It was a movie that followed the children of famous fairy tale characters all going to high school together. Sound familiar? I tried to find if Disney actually sued Mattel, but I couldn't find anything. So I think it was just a case of popularity of Ever After High was going down and the popularity of Descendants was skyrocketing. So it was just not profitable anymore to compete. And also with Monster High going under, it just made sense for Ever After High to go to. This makes me sad because while I do enjoy the Descendants movies, they just don't hold the special place in my heart that Ever After High does. Also, these Descendants dolls were awful because they obviously couldn't go through Mattel, so they went through Hasbro. But Hasbro has notoriously bad dolls, like the Equestria Girls dolls, and those Disney Princess dolls. And like Mattel is known for their dolls. So in comparison, these were just really bad. Speaking of comparison, I also wanted to do some comparing and contrasting between Monster High and Ever After High, because rewatching them as an adult, I did very much enjoy. Like, it was a huge blast from the past. Monster High and Ever After High was my first big hyperfixation, and I don't know which one I like more, because on one hand, rewatching the Monster High movies re-immersed me in the world of Monster High, while the Ever After High movies just made me mad at Apple. But on the other hand, the Ever After High movies have aged a lot better than the Monster High ones, and I do think they hold an equal place in my heart now. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the things, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!